Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to League Racing TV for round 8 of the Formula 2 season. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Car Mentalist. I will be taking you through proceedings as always. And as always, joining me in the commentary box is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening to you, Aidan. Good evening to everyone who's watching. And let's see what these F1 cars can do. F2 cars, sorry, can do. Round the Temple of Speed at Monza. Expect some extremely close racing around here. You usually get close racing in F1, and F2 is usually closer than F1, so could be very interesting tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be really interesting. Like you say, Italy, probably one of the easiest tracks we come to on the calendar for overtaking. And because the track is there's only 11 corners on this track and a lot of straight line speeds, would you say that this track is probably the circuit where we're going to see people on the closest playing field, would you say?
Yeah, because it's probably like the simplest track to drive, so there's not really any corners that you'd say are really difficult to get right, or sections that are really difficult to get right. Because slipstream in DRS is so important around here, probably a bit like Austria, you're going to get that DRS trains. That's the only track I can think that is similar, and we know from, as we said, from F1 racers and F2 racers that we've seen this season, Austria always seems to provide good racing, and Monza's another one as well in that category. You always get some very close battles.
Yeah, absolutely. Always get a lot of close battles, and Austria is probably the best one, like you say, to compare this track to, just in terms of how the racing is going to play out today. We're just getting ready for one-shot qualifying. Before we do, we'll run you through the podium sitters from Belgium last time out. So Blizzard ended up winning the feature race last time out from Coutinho and Legend, two Tridents on the podium last time out in Belgium. And then the sprint race was won by Scuba. Coutinho placed second in that one, and Blizzard was third in the sprint race. So Coutinho taking away two podiums, as did Blizzard as well. Scuba's race kind of got compromised really from the pit phase onwards after a safety car midway through the feature race, and that really cost Scuba a chance at going for the race victory in the feature race. Just looking at the standings then coming into this round as well, Blizzard is still in the lead of the championship on 244 points. He's now got quite a big gap actually back to Siege, who's on 217, and Coutinho third on 201. Then it's Legends, Scuba, Graham, Z3, Maze, Wesker and Josh who round off the top 10 in the points at the moment. And it looks like we've got ourselves, I think, our first wet qualifying session of the season.
Yeah, I mean, last time out we had what I think was our first wet race of the season. Now it looks like we've got a wet qualifying. This could be very interesting. I mean, Monza is always a circuit where there's always that risk of rain, usually in real life. Always happens around September. Northern Italy, there's always a chance. Let's not forget 2008, Vettel getting pole and victory for Toro Rosso, and then we've seen a surprise result obviously this season with Gasly taking the victory here in the F1. So let's see what we get here then in the F2 cars. Let's see who can get that all-important pole position.
Yeah, we're back on board with Josh M97. He's missed a couple of rounds recently, but we know that Josh has really good pace whenever he's turned up into turn one really late on the brakes. Has a nice little rear lock into turn one, helps the car get turned in actually. Traction coming out though, has to short shift quite heavily through third and fourth gear to null the wheel spin. Coming out of the corner, coming up to the end of the first sector, it looks like Coutinho's the one at the front of the field at the moment. He's had the best first sector so far, ahead of Adam Mako. He's had a good start to his lap as well. Into the second chicane, again braking nice and early, not a rear lock this time through. Takes a lot of curb on the inside of the second part of the chicane, gets away with it though, and that's a very good second chicane for Josh M97. But another rear lock, a big rear lock into the first Lesmo there. As soon as he hit the brakes, the car snapped from underneath him, and that's going to cost him a whole heap of time as he now goes through the second Lesmo and again sliding the car. You can tell that it's not very wet conditions. It's actually quite dry for the full wet tyres, so you can see that they're not producing a lot of grip at all. Now coming down towards the Ascari chicane, our third chicane on the track. This one's so easy to get wrong, especially with the curves on the inside of the left-hand parts of the chicane. In the car through for the first part, through the second and through the third as well. A massive slide on the exit, just about holds onto this car. This car has been all over the road on this track. It is there's so little grip out there for these Formula 2 cars in these wet conditions. Now coming to the final one on the track, the Parabolica. To get this one wrong is so crucial in the race to make sure you get a good run out of here to get past someone down towards the first chicane. Probably the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Coming out of the final corner, it looks like we might have a new pole sitter this season. Oh, as I say that, Coutinho had a brilliant run out of Parabolica and steals pole position away from Adam Mako by about 200ths of a second. Siege just in behind that as well, about 300ths of a second of pole position. The top three incredibly close, but once again it is Coutinho who just about gets pole position.
Yeah, just about. We'll see if he can convert this one, though, to a feature race victory, because he hasn't managed to do that with Bahrain. But Adamako, we wouldn't have expected to be in second place, and probably, given his qualifying form, probably wouldn't have really expected Siege to be that close up there as well in third.
Yeah, it's fair to say that Siege's qualifying pace has been maybe half a second or so off the outright raw speed we've seen for Coutinho when he's been in qualifying. So good result from him, and that's put him ahead of his closest championship rival, Blizzard, as well. Wesker fourth, Blizzard only fifth, and nearly 6/10 off the pace. Still in the top 5 though, so he can still work his way forwards from there. Honey Badger sixth ahead of Graham and Josh, 7th and 8th. Legend 9th, Maze 10th, Invictus in 11th, and Z3 are the last of the people to qualify. 9 seconds off the pace, so he obviously had a moment on his lap, as did Invictus by the looks of things. But a couple of people there really struggling in the wet conditions, and I'd probably say most notably Josh, who we expect to have really good qualifying pace, just couldn't keep the car on the road at all.
Yeah, and despite that, he was only 8/10 off of getting pole position. He probably lost that just in that one moment, heading into the second Lesmo, where he got a huge massive rear lock in there. Probably could have done with maybe just changing the brake bias slightly, but like you said, Aidan, it wasn't really wet conditions. It was probably borderline between slicks and intermediates, but F2 cars don't have the intermediate tyres, so they just had to jump on the wets and deal with it. Thankfully for everyone, though, it's now beautiful sunshine, and we'll see if anyone changed their setup slightly, because at Monza, you don't really have to make a setup compromise like you do at Spa, where you have fast sections but you have high downforce corners. At Monza, it is basically strip off as much downforce as possible to have the minimum drag. So if we see a few people here maybe struggle a bit in the race with straight line speed, maybe that suggests they went for a bit more of a qualifying focus strategy to do well in the wet conditions.
Yeah, maybe hoping for wet conditions in the race as well, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that from here. We'll have to look as well to see what tyres people are going to go on. Remember, Monza, in terms of tyre wear, is actually probably one of the easiest tracks on the calendar to get to the end of the race without any tyre wear at all. It's a fairly easy strategy, soft medium in Formula 1, so in Formula 2 expect the same. They are both running soft medium tyres, both categories are anyway, so Formula 2 will be on the soft and the medium tyres here. And once again, the first person on the harder compounder tyres on the mediums is Blizzard in 5th place. Directly behind him, Honey Badger in 6th is also on the mediums, Josh in 8th is on the medium tyres, and Z3 in 12th is on the mediums. Soft tyres. Once again, we've seen this from Blizzard so many times this season where he's gone for the alternate strategy. On some occasions it's worked out brilliantly, and on other occasions it's just not produced the pace that he probably would have expected. So what do you expect from Monza? Do you think maybe that this strategy could work for him, or do you think he'll struggle?
I think it's going to work for him this time around, to be honest. He seems to have mastered it a bit more in the last couple of races. There's been the odd occasion that he's struggled with it. I think it could be good to see how Honey Badger and Josh do as well, 6th and 8th. We spoke last week about putting the field into different groups based on their pace and their chances of winning the title, and Honey Badger and Josh were in the extremely quick drivers but have got absolutely nothing to lose here because they're not going to win the championship no matter how bad a result Blizzard, Siege and Coutinho have. So they might go for a bit more of a risk in the early stages, which could be interesting for Blizzard, with Honey Badger just behind Blizzard, and Josh, he always seems to be lightning at the start of races, so won't be surprised if he gains a few places on this first lap despite starting on the harder tyres.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely crucial to get his way forward on those mediums at the start of this race. Look for him to try and get past Graham as quickly as he can. And we've said it so many times really for Honey Badger so far this season that he's had the outright speed. He's had really good raw speed, but nothing seems to just ever go his way. It's either he makes some sort of a mistake, or he's involved in some sort of bad luck, or he's caught out by safety cars. So it never seems to go Honey Badger's way, and he's not even in the top 10 in points, having won this championship 2 seasons ago. So he's really struggling at the moment, and he's probably my one to watch out for today, just to see where he can get forwards. Just before we get going for the feature race though, who do you think is going to finish on the podium today?
I think I'm going to go for Blizzard again taking the victory. I think Coutinho's going to get another second position, and I think Josh can get on the podium as well. I think he'll work his way up to finishing 3rd.
I think that's actually not a bad bet really for that one. That was probably near what I was going to say. I'm probably going to say Honey Badger on the podium instead of Josh, but it's pretty much the same otherwise. So we get going then for the feature race. The lights are going to be coming on ahead of the drivers. Coutinho pole once again. Can he finally convert into a feature race win? The lights are out very quickly, and away they go. It looks a fairly even start at the front of the field. Coutinho, Adamako is going to slot in behind him. Invictus has already spun off the line. He spun right in the back of the Uni Virtuosi. Coutinho's had a brilliant start though. He continues to lead into turn 1. Adamako second.
Big accident behind.
Oh, that's Honey Badger. Who else was involved in that one?
Josh was involved. I think Legend dropped down the order as well. May's facing the wrong direction. He's got some big damage as well. So quite a few cars involved in that. I think it was just all squeezed together going into the first chicane. As here's goes Adam Acko trying to go all the way around that outside at the Roger. Thinks better of it, but he's right on the back of Coutinho at the moment. He's showing some fantastic pace. It's only in the early stages, but it's showing that he's not going to settle for a podium. Adam Acko wants to get a victory here.
Absolutely. What has Adam Acko been doing in the week to get ready for this event? This is a completely new Adam Acko in Formula 2, right on the back of Coutinho, who hasn't been able to sprint away like he would have wanted to. He wants to try and break that 1 second gap by the time we get to the DRS opening on the third lap, but he's still only 2/10 ahead of Adam Acko. Siege and Blizzard directly in behind as well. Blizzard has had a great start on those medium tyres. He's already passed Wesker, so he's up a place and into 4th, so it's working perfectly for him for the time being. Wesker down to 5th, Graham in 6th. Josh, with that contact, seemingly getting away with no damage, so I think he's all right to continue on, but he obviously got it caught up in that with Honey Badger, Maze and Legend further behind. JD Nolan from 13th on the grid is now in 8th, so he's managed to pick his way through all of that carnage. Z-Fixer from 12th on the grid up to 7th, so he's also done the same on those medium tyres. He's worked his way through nicely, but we're on to lap 2. Coutinho continues to lead. Siege is closing in ever so slightly on the back of Adam Acko. There's no DRS as of yet. Can Siege get to the inside for turn 1? Does Adam Acko defend the line? No, he doesn't. Siege is going to sit in behind for the time being, but we've seen this a lot this season from Siege, where he struggles to make moves. He struggles to really go for it, and as I say that, he runs a little bit wide out of the first chicane, and that's going to allow Blizzard to try and get side by side with him as they come down towards the De La Roggia chicane through Curva Grande. Does Siege move to the inside? No, he's going to stick to the racing line on the outside for the chicane. Blizzard is going to move down the inside on those medium tyres. Can he get the move done? Can he get the car stopped? He can. Blizzard passes championship rival Siege and up into 3rd place, and it's fair to say that Siege made that very, very easy for him.
Yeah, I was sort of looking from like the side view of Blizzard's car, and it was clear Siege just did not want to fight that battle, which is very surprising, because obviously Blizzard's on the better tyre, well, on the medium tyres. If anything, Siege probably wants to cost him a bit more time at this moment, because it's just going to get harder and harder as the laps go on for him to keep him behind. But maybe Siege thinking it might come to him later on, and he was in the championship fight. He's dropping back ever so slightly. He didn't get a podium last time out, whereas Blizzard took a victory and a 3rd position after getting a 5-second penalty rescinded. He really needs a good performance in this race, otherwise Blizzard could start to run away from it, and probably even Coutinho getting ahead of Siege as well if he doesn't pick up the results slightly from last weekend.
Yeah, he has a bit of a wobble coming out of the Parabolica, and Wesker's right on the back of him as well. Wesker's pace has improved massively recently as well in that Arden car. Meanwhile, further back, Z3 is trying to go for a move on Graham, so these medium tyres look like they're really coming alive. Z3 are on the back of Graham, to the outside, coming towards the first chicane. Can he just breeze past him, down into the chicane? He can, but Graham really, really late on the brake. You've seen it many times this season from Graham. He's great at defending, but he can't defend that one. Z3 so just powers round the outside of the first part of the chicane and up into 6th place. Z3 from 12th on the grid, already halfway through the field, obviously with a few accidents behind, but he's worked his way through nicely, and those medium tyres working well as Blizzard now moves to the inside of Adam Acko at the 2nd chicane, but Adam Acko gives him just enough room. Adam Acko is going to defend this one. He does for the time being. Blizzard looking back to the inside for the first Lesmo, but doesn't quite have the run on him coming into the corner, so Blizzard stays in 3rd for the time being, but the medium tyres look absolutely brilliant at this point in the race.
Yeah, and we've got a spinner further back at the Roggia chicane, and that is Josh, who is facing the wrong direction, so that's allowed Nolan to get back up into 8th position, possibly struggling with the rear locking again. I'm not sure.
Here goes Blizzard. Sorry to interrupt there, but meanwhile Blizzard down the inside, an easy move into Ascari. Adam Acko couldn't defend that one, and Blizzard's already up into 2nd place.
Yeah, really, really quick moving away through the field, and it does look like those medium tyres, especially those on the Carling cars, and they are leading the championship at the moment, are Carling 6 points only ahead of Trident. I personally, just because of the form Coutinho and Legend's been in, especially Legend, Trident probably before this race had the best number 2, but Z-Freakser at this moment in time in 6th position. I think that's the highest he's been in a feature race for a long, long time. And you've got to say, probably only going to get better for him is he's on the alternate strategy as Adam Acko with the DRS straight round the outside on the way into the Retifilio. We're slightly deep on the brake zone, which might allow Blizzard to get a best of exit. But Adam Acko's putting up a much bigger fight here than Siege was, as Z-Freakser has cut the corner and got himself a 5-second penalty.
I think Graham might have ran clean into the back as he threats into the corner. He has, because Graham's broken his front wing. I just caught that in the background. Graham's broken his front wings. He thinks I had to cut the chicane because he got run into and picked up a time penalty. So he'll probably end up serving that in his pit stop, which is such a shame. That's really unlucky for C3. So he's just off the back of the queue of the top 5 at the moment. Not quite able to get within DRS range, and that 5-second penalty is going to cost him quite massively as they get further into this race. But Adamako defending against Blizzard, which is he's entitled to do, obviously. They're on different strategies. Adamako trying to hold on to second place for as long as possible. This is what Siege needed to do to try and keep Blizzard behind and make sure that he can't get the run, because at the moment Blizzard could have been going for a race win, but Coutinho is really stretching his legs now that Adamako is defending, and this is making it harder for Blizzard to try and get through this pack and get to the back of the Trident Man for the race win. We're still only on lap 4. There's 11 laps to go in this race when we cross the line, but Coutinho stretching his legs out front, but Blizzard looks like he might have a clean run down into the first chicane on Adamako this time round.
Yeah, it looks as though Adamako tried to take a slightly later apex there, maybe just to give himself a bit of a boost heading down this first part of a straight, and it sort of works, but now that the slipstream's come in, it's giving him a chance as Wesker has got ahead of Siege. Siege has pitted very early here. Siege already into the pits, and we're only at the end of lap 4.
That's incredibly early. That's only 1 lap past the mandatory pit stop window. Meanwhile, Blizzard is down the inside, but Adamako is going to keep it down the inside for the second part of the chicane. Blizzard, though, is just going to get the better run out of the second part, but has a little bit of a wobble. Can Adamako come back at him down towards the De La Rocha chicane? I don't think he's quite going to be close enough. The slipstream isn't that bad when the Formula 2 car's down into here, and they have no DRS or ERS to help him attack. So Blizzard up into second place this time round. We'll have to wait and see whether Adamako can keep within Blizzard's DRS range and try and get back past him, maybe down into Ascari. But like you say, Siege into the pit lane incredibly early. He's come out in 9th in a lot of free air, but at the end of lap 4, that is really, really early as Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty, and we've seen this a couple times this season from Blizzard. He's very susceptible to picking up time penalties, and at the moment, that's going to cost him at least 2 places to Adamako and Wesker behind him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll see how it goes for Blizzard, actually, because sometimes he seems to pick up 5-second penalties, which he manages to get removed, because to be fair, they've not been his fault, but obviously 3-second corner cutting penalties for multiple warnings, it's just a slam dunk, and you can get them around here, mainly coming into that second chicane is where you normally see them, to be honest, heading on your way into there. So they'll have to be careful about this for the rest of the race. We'll see if anyone else heads into the pits on this lap, and yeah, Coutinho coming in now, and he gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that could be costly as well.
Feature race curse for Coutinho. We've seen this so many times this season where a little mistake in the feature race has cost him a race victory. 5 seconds added to his race time at the end with that speeding penalty could really cost him, and cost him another shot at a feature race victory, which he so desperately needs if he's going to try and win this championship. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. That is for Invictus. He's retired on track, so I wonder if that's going to bring out any sort of safety car. If it does, this could once again help Blizzard in this race. We saw it last time out. It helped Blizzard massively in the feature race when a safety car came out, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like that there's not going to be any safety car for that one, so we will continue on. Coutinho comes out of the pit lane nicely in 5th place ahead of Adamako and Wesker. Siege will get ahead of Wesker, but Siege will not be able to get ahead of Adamako at this point in the race, so he has to stick in behind, and he's still not quite within DRS range, so it does look like that Siege's outlap on the medium tyres hasn't actually been that competitive.
No, definitely. Maybe it's just struggling a bit with this track, struggling a bit with maybe the nature of this one and Spa, because I've mentioned it before, Spa wasn't his greatest of events, didn't get a podium there when you consider we got a podium in Hungary, won the feature in Britain, won the feature race in Austria. It was the first time since Azerbaijan that he hadn't finished in the top 3 in either of the races, so we'll have to see what he can do here. I think it's going to be incredibly hard for him, just because obviously he's pitted slightly earlier. Even, to be honest, I thought we'd see people pitting round about now, lap 6, when Nolan is going to be coming into the pits, because the tyre wears a bit less and you can stretch the softs ever so slightly longer. But at the moment we've now got a Carlin 1-2 then with Blizzard and Z-Freaks, as Nolan, he picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane here, and it doesn't surprise me because the pit lane, the entry line for the speed limit is extremely early on here to when you actually start coming across into the pit lane entry. So I do think it catches a few drivers by surprise if you haven't practiced around the circuit recently. I know when I've done it in other leagues and just even in career mode, if I've not practiced around here for a while, it takes me a while to get used to how early that line comes. So maybe that's what's doing it for these guys. But here we go then. Josh he's still out on track then, as are Blizzard and Z-Freaks, and Coutinho obviously with the net lead at the moment, 4 seconds ahead of Adamako. I think it's probably 2-horse race now between Coutinho and Blizzard. Maybe not just for the race, maybe for the championship as well.
At the moment, it is looking like that. Coutinho's got the pace. He just can't really do anything about Adamako. Fair to say that Adamako, this has been the best performance of the season so far for him. He's absolutely flying, shining at the moment, and going for a podium here, and it's not out of the question. Currently in a net third place when Blizzard probably comes into the pit lane, so Adamako not out of the question for his first podium of the season. That would be a great result for him. Out at the front of the field, then Blizzard continues to lead. He did set the fastest lap, but that was taken by Josh. That is another thing to look out for, is fastest lap points. That's one thing that could decide this championship. So Josh taking that fastest lap point for the time being could really be crucial for Blizzard's championship run. Obviously, they will have to put the softs on later on, so we imagine they will go faster than they have already been doing. Looking at the gap, though, between Josh and Coutinho, Coutinho is bringing the gap down ever so slightly, but it's not by a lot. It's probably about half a second a lap or so, which is not a massive amount considering how much fresher those medium tyres are, and considering that the soft tyres have gone off so quickly, that could actually really shake things up later on in the race if the likes of Blizzard, Z3 and Josh can't actually take the soft tyres any further than 4 laps, really, without them dying off.
Yeah, and to be honest, straight from the start, the mediums, judging by Z3 and Blizzard, the mediums looked like the tyre to be on, to be honest, even from lap 1, which was a bit surprising. Maybe we'll see similar again. Maybe these mediums just last forever around here, and the soft tyres are only really good for a lap or two, which would surprise me, to be honest, but we'll just have to wait and see how things go. But yeah, the gap between Blizzard and Coutinho is staying over half a minute at the moment. It's not really coming down, and it's not like it's just Blizzard flying away from Coutinho, because the gap between Z-Freakser and Josh and Blizzard staying fairly constant as well. So it doesn't look like these fresh mediums really have an advantage over the older ones just yet. Well, could be worth seeing how long these guys take them, as the Freakser just runs, understays on the exit of Ascari, goes through the gravel there, no major harm done, but that just allows his teammate to pull away ever so slightly, and obviously allows Josh to catch up. You could still see Josh getting a decent result from this race, especially when he puts the soft tyres on at the end.
Yeah, he's definitely in contention for that reverse grid pole position. That's another thing to look out for. That's currently held by JD Nolan, but he's got Graham directly in behind him. Graham does have front wing damage though, so that is going to cost him a bit of time. Josh is going to be the first person. No, he isn't. I thought he was going to come into the pit lane, but he just took a very shallow line coming out of the Parabolica. He doesn't dive into the pit lane, so they stay out for another lap. We're on lap 9 of this race, then expect Blizzard and Z3 maybe to come in at the end of this lap to put the soft tyres on. But the last time I remember the medium tyres being this good in a feature race must have been Bahrain. And we saw that in Bahrain, where Blizzard went for the alternate strategy, started on the medium tyres, was very, very fast at the start of the race, and we were expecting him to charge you on the softs at the end, and he put the soft tyres on and nothing really happened. He just couldn't work his way forwards. He didn't really have any pace on them, so I wonder if we're seeing the same thing again today, where the soft tyres have very good qualifying speed, but just outright track speed just aren't that consistent, and it's meaning that the medium tyres are the better ones. Looking further down, actually, Josh is actually slightly pulling away from Coutinho, so I don't know if the Coutinho's just really struggling on these tyres or whether the mediums don't go off at all, but Coutinho's not pulling away, he's not catching Josh, and he's not really pulling away from Adamako, so again Coutinho under pressure of losing places here because of penalties.
Yeah, it is very possible. In fact, last lap, Blizzard a 130.6, Coutinho with a 130.9, which was slower than both Adamako, Siege and Wesker as well, so maybe it's just Coutinho seems to be struggling a bit on these medium tyres, as Wesker now picks up a 3-second time penalty as he tries to pursue Siege, because it looks like Adamako, Siege and Wesker are just catching him ever so slightly, probably not enough to really make an overtake on track, but when you consider the fact that Coutinho has that 5-second penalty as he Freakser gets one as well, could drop Coutinho down a few places if he doesn't find a bit more pace. Now Josh picks up one as well, so that's something we've got to keep an eye out here for Blizzard. If he picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding, that's 8 seconds that are getting added onto his time at the end of this race.
That could be really, really crucial to his one. If he gets that 8-second penalty instead of the 3 that he's got at the moment, that could save Coutinho's race if he can get 5 seconds ahead of Adamako. Because at the moment, when Blizzard comes out, he'll probably come out right in this gap in between Coutinho and Adamako. At the moment, Adamako will pass Coutinho by about 0.3 of a second by the end of the race if it stays like this. And Blizzard will slot right in between them with a 3-second penalty, so he'll probably steal the win off of Coutinho by the end, but we'll have to wait and see. There's so many people have got speeding penalties in the pit lane today. And remember as well, Z3 already had a 5-second penalty before that for corner cutting at turn 1, so that's his second 5-second speed limit, his 5-second time penalty of this race. He's come out in 8th place on those soft tyres, so let's see what his pace is relative to Graham. Graham does have front wing damage, so his pace would obviously be a little bit faster than we would expect. It's probably more to JD Nolan where we need to see Z3's speed compared to the drivers in front of him. But he comes out in 8th place in reverse grid pole. As I say that, he drops the car coming out of the second chicane, hits the wall slightly but doesn't get any damage, amazingly gets away with it. But straight away coming out of the pit lane, Z3 with absolutely no grip coming out of the chicane, drops the car and drops down to 10th place. And again, another mistake from Z3 as Josh picks up his second time penalty of the race. Blizzard's into the pit lane, doesn't pick up a speeding penalty by the looks of things, so he's gotten away without speeding, which could help him later on. But Z3 seemingly struggling on those softs and not able to keep the car on the road.
Yeah, he seems to be struggling, and I think here it's going to be pretty close actually. I think Coutinho will get ahead of Blizzard, but it's definitely going to be closer than it was earlier, as Blizzard now just is allowed to let off the speed limiter. So there we go. Coutinho takes the lead of this race. Blizzard in a comfortable second place at this moment in time. This could get very interesting indeed. Now we're going to see, is it just the soft tyres that seem to be struggling at the moment? As Z3 has made the spin. Josh, though, has got ahead of Honey Badger as he's coming to the pits. Obviously, having started on the mediums and been involved in that accident, he needs to put another set of soft tyres on, as you have to use 2 different compounds. That is why he's coming to the pits. We'll have to see now. It's 2.2 seconds at the moment. Coutinho will be hoping that Blizzard struggles on the soft tyres, but for some reason I just doubt it. I still think Blizzard could end up taking the victory in this race. What could get really interesting is to see how Josh can maybe work his way up through the field, with Graham and Nolan not too far ahead, and the fact that Wesker right on the back of Siege at this moment in time. Quite a few times this season, Wesker has finished in 4th position. I think he'll want that again here tonight.
Absolutely, he got his first podium on track last time out in the sprint race actually, but obviously got that taking off of him with Blizzard getting rid of his 5-second time penalty, and Wesker breezes down the inside once again. Siege just not deciding to defend the move. He's in a championship battle at the moment, so you would expect him to at least defend the places that he's fighting for, but he's not even trying to. He just basically let Wesker through down the inside of Ascari. Wesker up into 4th place once again. Kinga finishing in 4th place so far this season. Siege is trying to come back around the outside of into Parabolica, compromises Wesker's line through the corner, so Siege should get a pretty good run coming out of here, and down the pit straight is already nearly up the inside coming out of the corner. So as they come down towards the first chicane, Siege will have the DRS and should breeze straight back past Wesker. As I say that though, Wesker's car is very fast in a straight line. Siege goes to the outside line. Wesker's going to tuck in just behind him before the braking zone, so Siege back ahead. So he read that one quite well in the end. He's a little bit late on the brakes into the first corner, but he just about gets it stopped. Wesker's going to try and get a run out the corner and gets a very good run, and he's got the outside line for the Curva Grande, which will turn into the inside line for the De La Roggia chicane. Can he get to the inside though? No, Siege taking the shorter line, has his car fully ahead, and Wesker backs out of the move down into the chicane, so Siege does get back up into 4th place in the end. But all that is still allowing Adamako to pull away, and Adamako now has a 2-second buffer to both of these drivers, so his 3rd place is becoming safer and safer as the further we go into this race. Meanwhile, gap for the lead is down by a second in a lap. Blizzard nearly within DRS range already of Coutinho, so it does look like Blizzard is able to get something out of these soft tyres that other people weren't able to.
Yeah, but he's doing it again. He doesn't show the qualifying pace on these soft tyres, but when it comes to the race, at the end, on low fuel, which is the most similar conditions we're going to see to qualifying, he just seems to nail it. I think he took it a bit careful on the first lap, didn't really gain that much compared to Coutinho. That was probably just waiting for the tyres to warm, and we've seen what's happened with Z-Freakser if you get it slightly wrong. Now he's within DRS range. It's going to be extremely difficult for Coutinho, not this time around, but maybe next time around, to defend the move. Further back, Wesker this time is going to have DRS on Siege, and I think that's why Siege didn't defend into Ascari on lap 12, because he knew he'd get the DRS down the main straight. This time it's Viardon with the DRS. It's going to be a straightforward swap. Wesker now up into 4th place, and we'll see if Siege can fight that back maybe next time around.
And see if he can keep within DRS range, like you say, of Wesker in front. So Wesker back up into 4th place once again, but still Adamako pulling way out front. Meanwhile, Blizzard only a 10th behind our race leader, is going to try and look to the inside for the second chicane. He's going for the outside line. He's going to try and drive all the way around the outside. He kind of caught Coutinho napping. Coutinho gets a 3-second time penalty on the inside of the chicane, and Blizzard absolutely mugs Coutinho around the outside of the De La Roggia chicane. Made it look so easy. It was so late on the brakes and just drove clean around the outside of the Trident man, and he's up into the race lead. Coutinho will have DRS back on Blizzard down this straight, but I don't think he's close enough coming down into Ascari. Blizzard moving all the way to the left-hand side of the road to try and break the toe, and Coutinho is not close enough into the corner. Brilliant move from Blizzard, causing Coutinho to make a mistake, as Coutinho has a massive slide through Ascari, just about holds onto it, but that's going to drop him outside of DRS range. Once again, we see it from Coutinho. He's in prime position to win the feature race, and it all goes wrong for him, and Blizzard there to pick up the pieces with an amazing move to take the race lead with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think he sort of spooked Coutinho. I don't think Coutinho was expecting him to go for it, and that's why he got out of the way so much and ended up hopping over the curb, giving himself a 3-second time penalty. Maybe, I do wonder if he'd have just stuck his car sort of on the racing line and not cut over the corner. I think there might have been a bit of contact between those two, because Blizzard did leave it extremely close, but that didn't happen in the end. Blizzard picks up another 3-second time penalty, but he's still, at the moment, got 2 seconds less than Coutinho, so doesn't really have to worry about that, especially now that he's broken the DRS toe. Whereas Josh, he's also finding some good pace on these soft tyres, gets himself up into 6th position for now. I think that'll be the highest we're going to see Josh get, obviously, and it looks like Graham's in prime position for the sprint race pole position at the moment, despite, I think he's actually driven the entire race in turn 1 with that broken front wing.
Yeah, he got that broken front wing, I think, when he crashed into the back of Z3XO, and obviously Z3XO got that penalty. I think that was lap 3 that happened, so fairly early on in the race, and he's just driven round. We've seen it a lot from Graham as well this season. He's very consistent. He's able to pick up points. Even if a race doesn't go his way, he gets to the end and picks up points, and that is why he's currently 6th in the standings. He's done a good job, and he'll be on sprint race pole position, I think, for maybe the 4th time this season, if I remember correctly, which is great to see. So he's holding on to it for the time being. Z3XO in behind him does have many more penalties than Graham does, so I don't think he'll pass him on penalties at least, and he won't be close enough to him on track. Blizzard then now with a 2.5 second lead over Coutinho, who's just kind of been left in the dirt really from Blizzard. And actually at the moment, Adamako still without a penalty in this race, means that Coutinho, if he can't stretch his legs, is going to lose second place to Adamako here. So Adamako on for his first podium in the season, and on for a second place if he can keep it up, which is a brilliant result for him. And further in behind, Siege has lost touch with Wesker. He's within DRS range, but he's 9/10 back, so he's nowhere near close enough, and he's not actually opening his DRS. So I wonder if he's had a DRS failure at some point around this race, which is why he can't quite keep close to Wesker anymore. But Wesker now looking safe in 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, Wesker looking pretty safe at the moment on track with this not too long to go on to the final lap. I'm going to be honest here. When I saw Adamako's qualifying, especially because he lost for time on the final straight, I did wonder, has he put a bit more downforce on and maybe gone for the glory running pole as legend?
Ooh.
That's a gain. That's for 2nd time, I think, this season. He's been disqualified for failing to use the required tyre compound, so that's absolutely no points for him, and he'll be starting from the back of the grid. Continuing my point about Adamako, I thought he'd maybe put a bit more downforce on, tried to get the pole, and the couple of points that go with that, but no, he's proven me wrong and shown some absolutely fantastic pace in this race, and if he does get the 2nd place, it's been well deserved.
It has been really well deserved from Adamako. Definitely his drive of the season, but we'll ride with Blizzard as he comes down to the Parabolica for the 15th and final time in this feature race. Once again, Blizzard with masterful drive, really smart, didn't take any risks and made the move stick when they counted. And Blizzard is going to continue to extend his championship lead to almost unreachable points, an unreachable amount at this point. He crosses the line and wins the feature race once again. 2 races in a row, 2 feature race victories. Coutinho crosses the line in 2nd. Where is Adamako compared to Coutinho as they cross the line? Adamako takes 2nd place by 0.8 of a second. Amazing stuff from Adamako to take that 2nd place, his best result of the season. Coutinho drops into 3rd place ahead of Siege in 4th, who does get ahead of Wesker on penalties, who drops to 5th. Josh is in 6th ahead of JD Nolan in 7th. Graham will be next to cross the line. He goes into 6th place. He jumps both Josh and JD Nolan in the end, so even with the front wing damage, Graham jumps 2 places up into 6th place. That drops Josh to 7th and JD Nolan to 8th in reverse grid pole position for the first time this season. He will be on reverse grid pole. Z3XO crosses the line in 9th, and now we just wait for Honey Badger and Maze, who both had both of their races were compromised even before they got into turn 1. So Honey Badger once again not scoring enough points in this race, not scoring the points that he would have wanted. He's going to cross the line in 10th place, and Maze will be crossing the line in 11th. But once again, Blizzard with a masterful drive taking the feature race win, and it's going to take some really bad luck for Blizzard for him to lose the championship now.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to say with Siege not finishing on the podium either. I mean, just try and do some quick maths in my head at the moment, but the lead was 27 points before this race. That's probably been extended to talking about 40-point lead now, probably for Blizzard. in the championship, so way more than a feature race victory. It's going to take a pretty much perfect run from someone over the next couple of weekends, but 3 feature race victories in a row for Blizzard, 6 podiums in a row. He's just showing some fantastic pace at the moment. And at the start of the season, we did wonder whether we saw the consistency, not as much as we saw the speed, but the speed seems to have come with it now, and he's looking almost unstoppable.
Yeah, it's almost an identical run to what we had last season in TTL in Formula 2. Blizzard started off the season with only 1 race win in the first 4 rounds, but it was very consistent, and then from then on he was utterly dominant and just ran away with the championship. And that is the thing with Blizzard, even when he's not quite on the pace of the likes of Coutinho or Siege, he's still there, he's still fighting for podiums, and like you say, 6th podium in a row, and before that, I think he had a 6th podium run in the first 3 rounds of the championship anyway, so it's more often than not that he's on the podium this season, so that's why he's at the front of the championship, and this will be his biggest championship lead at any point this season going into the sprint race here today. Let's see if he can continue to extend that championship lead through the sprint race and into the next round in 2 weeks' time. So it's Blizzard that wins the feature race ahead of Adamako in second. What a drive from Adamako from second on the grid to stay there at the end. Coutinho drops to third once again, missing out on a feature race victory. Siege in fourth ahead of Wesker fifth. Graham sixth. Josh 7th and JD Nolan on reverse grid pole in 8th place. Z3's 9th. What could have been for him without that late spin? Honey Badger in 10th. Maze 11th. Invictus and Legend did not finish the race. Legend disqualified for the 2nd time this season for failing to use the correct compounds of tyres. So that's no points for Trident in terms of Legend's car. And Coutinho outscored by Blizzard. So more manufacturers' points and more of a gain for Carlin this weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes this time around, because obviously Z-Freaks has showed some good pace until he had that spin, so maybe if it wasn't for that, he'd probably been in the top 8, and we'd have been talking about maybe him being on this reverse grid pole. But it is going to be JD Nolan on reverse grid pole. I think this time we're going to have to watch out for Josh. We saw him fight his way up through the field. He's going to be starting in 2nd place. I said it last time, he was always lightning on lap 1. He just got involved in the incident last time around. And talking of getting involved in that incident, what does Honey Badger have to do to have an incident-free race here in Formula 2 this season? Belgium didn't make it to the end of lap 1 in either race. At least he did this time around, but his race was pretty much ruined straight away.
I honestly cannot remember the last time Honey Badger had a clean race, if I'm honest. And like I said earlier on, it's either mistakes that he's made, or he's been involved in someone else's incident, or he's been caught out by an unlucky safety car. But Honey Badger just has not had the luck this season. He's just been involved in other people's incidents so much, and had so much promise for the feature race, and got involved in an incident that seemingly wasn't his fault before he even got to the first corner. So it's crazy to think how unlucky he is, and he will start the sprint race from 10th on the grid, which is even lower down than he did at the feature race. So it just gets worse and worse for Honey Badger as the season goes on. Still well outside the top 10 in terms of points, in 11th, but I think maybe 20 points off of the top 10 in the championship at the moment. So he's really struggling to get the points on the board, but maybe we'll see him work his way through today in the sprint race. Where do you think that he can get through in the sprint race today?
I think he's definitely going to fight his way up through the top 5 if everything runs smoothly. He's a very good driver. I still stick with what I said. I still think Josh is going to get the win, and Coutinho and Blizzard, they're always good in these sprint races as well, of sort of fighting their way through cleanly in the early stages. Normally you'd think it'd be a bit tougher starting lower down, but we'll have to see how it goes for them this time around. I think Blizzard probably has now got more to lose, obviously, so wouldn't surprise me if he's a bit more careful and just sort of follows Coutinho through, let the Trident make the holes, and then Blizzard just follows him all the way through in this race, knowing that obviously finishing 1 position behind someone in the sprint race is nowhere near as bad as finishing 1 position behind someone in the feature race. Yeah,
and with such a big championship lead, it doesn't need to take the risks. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if this is the case, but I think we might have a little bit of a lobby glitch here, because the drivers just aren't loading onto the grid, which is such a shame. I hope that the game does sort itself out, and that we can get onto the sprint race position, onto the grid for the sprint race, because unfortunately, if this lobby does glitch and we cannot restart this, then we can't get the sprint race started, because you can't do a sprint race without a feature race in Formula 2 on the Formula 1 game. So we'll have to wait and see if maybe someone's got some sort of internet connection issue, and that is why we are waiting. But we'll have to wait and see. Just other than that, though, I think we just got to put we've got to put our praise in really for Adamako. What a drive! By far his best drive of the season.
Oh, absolutely fantastic from him. Full credit, brilliant performance, kept it clean as well. Just absolutely had a perfect race, really, and he showed some fantastic fighting. As soon as he did that when he was fighting against Blizzard, I was like, right, this is pure pace. It's not just that he's had a good lap in the wet. He's really going for this. Maybe in the race win, in the end it didn't cost Blizzard the race win, but maybe it would have been a bit easier for Blizzard if he hadn't had that happen, as Honey Badger has left the session. Again, it seems to be Honey Badger with some bad luck this time, and thankfully we seem to be underway now as someone has...
That's Blizzard, I think. Is that Blizzard? It is Blizzard, yeah, it's Blizzard. The Blizzard is the car that's spun coming off the line, and Josh M97's been, a couple of people have been disqualified from the formation lap, but Honey Badger unfortunately was the person with the problem, and Maze has also left the session as well, so I wonder if we've got some sort of problem with the actual game itself. Yeah, we've got a lot of people crashing into each other deliberately behind the formation lap, so it looks like that this is the end, at least, of this sprint race attempt. I don't know if we're going to be able to get another sprint race attempt in, because obviously, like I said, you can't do a sprint race without a feature race in this game, so I'm not sure what we're going to be able to do at this point. We'll have to wait and see whether this is going to be it for today. But if it is it for today, that is such a shame for the likes of JD Nolan and Josh M97. Great opportunities, especially for Josh and for JD, to really show off what they can do. Josh to go for another win this season, and JD Nolan to go for maybe his best result of the season so far. But it just doesn't look like he might not get the opportunity to do that today.
Yeah, definitely, which will be a shame for him, and like you said, a shame for JD Nolan. He's been saying in the chat that he's slow. You just never know what can happen in these sprint races. If there's a bit of a problem behind you, sometimes you can build up quite a sizable lead in the early stages, and then you can just get a bit lucky. So hopefully we'll be able to get some way of getting some sort of sprint race. Like you said, I can't see how it's going to be done, but you never know. Maybe in F1 2021 there'll be a way to start a sprint race, and maybe there won't be a need for us to keep having to restart lobbies, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I have to wait and see whether we can do that. So, in the meantime, we'll just watch the AI cars drive around the track for a little bit. They're coming to the end of the formation lap at the moment, so we'll just wait and see what what that's going to be like. I think other people were just to mention in that race that maybe didn't have the best of races at all. Legend obviously got caught up in that turn 1 incident. He was part of that turn 1 incident, and then obviously got disqualified in the latter stages of the race. But even with that turn 1 incident, you would have expected him to be maybe close to the likes of Honey Badger, but he just didn't seem to have the pace to be able to keep with Honey Badger in that race. Even both of them being on the same strategy and having to pit early for a front wing change, they just weren't able to. He just wasn't really able to keep up with Honey Badger. So maybe this is another track where Legend seems to struggle for outright speed.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like you said, he wasn't really pulling up any trees in that race. Didn't exactly catch up to anyone. So I think they are going to try and get a restart in. We'll have to see how it goes this time around for Legend, because he was fairly high up in qualifying. He wasn't right down at the back. I'm just trying to... I mean, actually, no, he was 9th, but that was in the wet, so can't really count that as the AI cars get us underway at the moment for the... it's basically a copy of the Robo race, which Formula E said they were going to do at some point. We're seeing how the AI can do at the moment, but in real life, obviously, the robot cars don't have the invisibility button that these have.
Yeah, absolutely, going into turn 1. This is, yeah, if anyone wonders what the Robo race might be like when that officially does start, this might be what it looks like, without obviously them driving inside of each other. This might be what the Robo race looks like, so this is going to be very interesting, because be an insight for Robo race. So if anyone works for Robo race that wants to see what their races could look like, prime opportunity to do it for you. And I think the only one that's actually in the lobby at the moment is Legend. So Legend seemingly just wanted to get some practice in for the sprint race, trying to get the car really bedded in and see what kind of speed he has on these medium tyres. So we'll just ride with him while we wait, obviously, to see if the lobby is going to get up and going once again. But yeah, it's just another people that we can talk about. Let's have a think about other people that we can talk about in this championship. I'm just thinking Graham as well. I think obviously running down in 8th place for most of the race with front wing damage, picking up 6th in the feature race in the end, despite the front wing damage just having less penalties than other people around him. Graham has been remarkably consistent this season. I think coming into the season, he played down his chances of doing well, and since then he's been, I'd say, probably mid-top 10 in almost every single race we've had so far.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're going to get from Graham. Unless he has an off day, he's going to finish 6th, 7th, 8th in the feature race. That gives him a top 3 for the sprint race. And he's not really going to drop back that many positions in the early stages. And again, probably finish about 5th or 6th in the sprint race. So he's just consistently picking up these points. And that is why he's, what is he? Is he top 5 in the top 6, sorry, at the moment in the championship? But that was before this one. Obviously with Legend and Legend and Scuba not getting any points. He's past Scuba and closed right up onto the back of Legend. He could well get a top 5, and it just shows what consistency is. He's only had one podium, and I think as some of the others have got a bit more used to it, it's changed ever so slightly for him. But again, he's kept his head down. He's finished every race as well, so he's had a bit of luck not to get involved in incidents, but to say you make your own luck. He's a clean driver. He's admitted that he made a mistake in the last race, crashing into Z Freaks, and he said, "Fair play, I hold my hands up. It was my mistake," and you've got to respect that in a driver. He's done really well this season.
He really, really has. He's really, really shone in that Prema car, currently in 6th. He will be now actually ahead of Scuba in the championship after that result, and maybe Legend. I don't think he quite jumps ahead of Legend just yet, based off of the feature race itself, but even so, a top 5 in the championship this season from Graham would be something to take away. That would be a great result from him. Looking at the championship standings as well, I think one person that we've missed quite a lot this season has been Scuba, currently now 6th in the standings after that race. He's been so fast all season, and to miss him in a lot of races this season has really been a shame, hasn't it? Because if he had been here for the whole time, it's fair to say that Scuba probably could have been another championship contender.
Yeah, definitely. He has shown some good pace. There's been the odd race for Scuba where just for some reason it hasn't happened, but I'd say most of the races he's been in recently, he's been extremely quick. Probably not quite on the Blizzard Coutinho level. I think are probably the two highest outright pace at the moment on this. But he's probably in that group below where he's just shown some really good pace at the moment. Probably in that group below with maybe Josh and Honey Badger, but he's just had a bit more luck and he's been here a few more times, so he's not really got involved in the incident. So that's been absolutely fantastic for him, and we'll have to see how he does. Shame that he missed tonight, because if he hadn't have done and he'd have had a good result, he probably still had an outside chance of getting him a championship, as it does seem like we have got another lobby going. So let's see if we can get the sprint race underway.
Fingers crossed that we can get that one underway. We're just waiting for an invite to the lobby. As I say that, it just pops in right now. So fingers crossed we are going to get everything underway. I think what they're going to do for this race is, it's obviously we've got the feature race on for this lobby, so everyone will retire from the feature race. I'm not sure if they can actually do that or not because of how the sprint race format works, but we'll have to wait and see how this is actually going to work for this race. I'm not quite sure. And starting grid is custom, so we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. So it's going to be interesting to find out how this one is going to work, but we'll wait and see. Everyone is back in the lobby that needs to be here, so let's just wait and see what we get from today's sprint race. Just obviously a couple of notes as well for League Racing TV over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, next week will be the return of the Masters League, so Formula 2 will be having another week off next week on Wednesday, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for round 9 of the championship. Just looking at the calendar really for the rest of the season, we've obviously got Italy here, and then we've only got 2 races left after that. It's crazy to think that the season has gone so quickly. We've got Russia and Abu Dhabi to round off the season, and just based on what we've had so far this season and the tracks that are coming up, who do you think could really shine at Russia and Abu Dhabi?
Russia's a bit of an interesting one, to be fair. There's bits of the track where you've got the fast flat out sections, and then you've got the twistier bits, so maybe if anything you could say it's slightly similar to Azerbaijan in some ways, with a lot of 90-degree corners, and Russia is in that sort of street circuit feel. And again, Coutinho managed to get 2 podiums there, and I seem to remember Legend did well, so that could be a good trident attack. Abu Dhabi I think is a bit unique to anything we've got, but again it's got that slow and twisty final sector, so maybe whoever we see doing good in Russia could do well in Abu Dhabi, because you have them sections of long straights, obviously the long flat out run at Russia on the run down to turn 1, and you get the second DRS straight as well. Abu Dhabi has the long back straight and then the like curved straight. I know you can't have a curved straight, but the flat out bit on the second DRS zone. I think it's Blizzard and Coutinho have been good at every track pretty much, let's be honest, so I can't really look too far past them.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to say the same. I think another one maybe to look out for at Russia, I think at Legend is a good shout actually, because he did have good pace obviously before he was disqualified from the feature race in Baku. He looked set really to win that race if that hadn't have gone the way that it did. I think Russia, it's going to be a difficult one, like you say. Russia is going to be a really difficult one to call, but I think Siege might be a bit more competitive at the next 2 rounds. It seems that the higher speed natured circuits is where Siege struggles. He just doesn't quite seem to have the pace or the confidence at the higher speed stuff. So I wonder if maybe the slower speed of Abu Dhabi at the end of the season, and Russia as well, especially the second half of the lap at Russia, which is a lot more slower speed, could really suit Siege more, where maybe he can really fight for the championship in the final 2 rounds. We're loading into a feature race. The feature race is only 3 laps. I think what everyone is going to do is retire pretty quickly. We'll have to wait and see how this one is going to work out, because obviously the reverse grid feature is still in this game in a feature race. You can't turn that off. So we'll have to wait and see how this one works out, and fingers crossed everyone will be in the right grid position for the sprint race at the end. We'll just wait and see. About 20 seconds away, but before we get going for the sprint race, I'm going to push you for a top 3. Who do you think is going to get in the top 3 for the sprint race today?
I think it is going to be Josh with the victory, Coutinho in second, and I think Blizzard to get the 3rd place. So I think Coutinho and Blizzard will just work their way up the order, and as I said, Blizzard just needs to follow Coutinho through and not try anything silly, really. But Josh, he'll be starting in 2nd place. Lightning start. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in the lead by turn 1 and then no one sees him for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked with that myself either. So we're on the way for the 3-lap race, so just seeing what everyone does. So obviously everyone is off the grid at a different time, so we'll have to wait and see who's going to go where and who retires when. So I think everyone's just going to retire in order. So they're going to drive in order in maybe the 3 laps that we have. I don't know if they're going to retire or just drive the 3 laps in order. We'll just wait and see what they do. In the meantime, while they drive around, another person to talk about, Z3xer. Let's see if he can work his way forwards in the sprint race as well, because in the feature race, it's fair to say that in terms of feature races we've had so far this season, that was probably, I'd say, one of Z3xer's most competitive feature races so far.
Yeah, shame he had the incident with Graham that cost him 5 seconds, and then obviously a shame that he had the spin, because I thought he had half a chance of getting a podium before all that happened. So we'll have to see how he does in this sprint race. Obviously, unfortunately for him, he missed out just, I believe it was by 1 place in the end. He missed out on the top 10, so on the top 8, I should say, obviously for the sprint race reverse. And we'll see how he does this time around. And we'd expect everyone's going to be on the medium tyres. That's what you normally see on the sprint race, and that was the tyre he looked to be the most comfortable on. Again, similar to Blizzard, and we'll have to see how Coutinho does. I know I might have predicted him for 3rd place, but opposed to everyone else, he seemed to be uncomfortable. There was one stage where he was dropping time to Blizzard on the older tyres, he was dropping time to Adamako, he was dropping to Siege and Wesker as well. I feel like now he's got used to them a bit more, he'll do a bit better, but we'll have to see. But definitely Z3xer could get a really good result here if he can manage to keep it nice and clean.
Yeah, let's wait and see whether he can keep it keen. Well, we're just 2 laps through this truncated. I think this is fair to say this is the first time I've ever seen this in a league race in Formula 1. I've never seen a league race like this before, where we've had to go through a 3-lap feature race to get to the sprint race so that we can actually do the sprint race. That's the first time I've seen it. I don't know if this is the first time you've seen it yourself, Luke. I think we've seen a fair share of things on this game so far in terms of commentary and racing, but this is definitely a new one for me. I'm not sure if it is for you.
Just reminds me of like the BTCC at Knockhill, where you have to do like 2 formation laps because it's such a short circuit. That's the only thing I can think of. Everyone, apart from Nolan, who's just, I think he's just having a bit of fun with himself. Everyone's just driving around in order, but multiple laps around this circuit. But we'll have to see how they do. Maybe they'll, could be interesting to see how the drivers do actually, because they'll be a bit out of practice, out of sync with things. They'll have like relaxed and everything after the feature race. Some of them might have thought that we're not even going to bother doing a sprint race, and now we're going to see if they can pump themselves up a bit. But sometimes when there's lobby glitches and stuff like that, you can have a bit more of a chaotical race afterwards, just because everyone's a bit more tired, it's taking a bit more time, there's a bit of frustration built into the system. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, just have to wait and see what people do. JD Nolan doesn't look like he's having a little bit of fun. We're coming on to the last lap of this shortened feature race, so we'll just see JD Nolan drop back into 8th place so that he can take that reverse grid pole position for the sprint race. Looking further down the field as well, Tony Badger obviously will start the race in 10th. Maze will start the race in 11th. Legend will start the race at the back of the field. Invictus unfortunately left the lobby after the feature race, so he will not be taking part. He would have started 12th on the grid, but he won't be taking part in the sprint race, unfortunately. Another person to shout, maybe Wesker as well. Wesker's form recently, I feel like we just don't really talk about Wesker because he's kind of run in the middle part of the field and not really shone a lot, especially at the start of the season when he struggled to really get the car to the finish without breaking his gearbox. He's managed to sort that out, and now that he's sorted that out, he's definitely a podium contention driver. He still hasn't quite yet picked up that first podium in this championship, but he's become so close so many times to doing so. Do you think maybe he could pick up his first podium today?
There's a possibility. It was only the penalty that cost him against Siege. He did show better pace than Siege. He'll be starting ahead of him as well. And I agree with what you said. I think at the start of the season he was struggling to get the car to the end, so was driving a bit conservatively just to get it to the end, then sort of got used to how you have to drive and accelerate and brake these F2 cars. Obviously big difference with Formula 1, much thinner tyres, much less downforce, and you don't have the electrical energy to help power you along. So we'll have to see how they do, as I'm not sure, has Nolan... I think Nolan just got a bit too slow there, and Aussie Freaks is going to have to let him through. Hopefully they finish this in the right order, otherwise this could cause even more chaos, but it all seems to have sorted itself out. But yeah, I think Wesker could definitely get a podium, and I hope he does this season, because he's really persevered and improved as the season's gone on.
He really has, and he's definitely I think he's probably the best example this season of practice makes perfect, really, isn't he? And he's not given up. It would have been so easy for Wesker at the start of the season to think, you know what, this is too difficult. I can't get the cars to the finish of the race, let alone finish well. So what is the point of continuing on? But he learned the cars. He learned how to get the cars to the end of the race, and since then he's just steadily kept improving. So we'll have to wait and see if he can get that podium before the end of the season. He did have the podium in the sprint race last time out before Blizzard got his penalty removed, so he had that first podium really taken away from him. So let's wait and see if he can pick one up today, or whether or not he can pick one up in Russia or Abu Dhabi. Bit of a nothing really podium there is. That's the second time that we've seen the same three people celebrating a feature race today. So Blizzard will obviously start in 8th place for the sprint race, Adamako 7th, Guginio 6th. So JD, Nolan and Josh will be the front row of the grid going into the sprint race. Another thing maybe to look out for, obviously, with the sprint race, there's no pit stops in this one, and we saw that the mediums didn't really have seemingly any tyre drop-off at all, and it's an 11-lap race. So do you think maybe because there's no real tyre drop-off on the mediums that people will be really, really pushing today?
I think you could get that as well. It might be interesting if there's actually a safety car round about lap. If there's a safety car round about lap 3 or 4, perhaps, because apart from Blizzard and Josh, no one really showed amazing pace on the soft tyres, and it's not like the mediums was so much worse. Would it be worth, especially if you're near the front of the field, would it be worth dropping all the way down to the back to try and fight your way through everyone, knowing that even in the final lap or so, the soft tyres might still wear and the mediums might still be in a good condition? But thankfully this time it looks like everything is getting underway. And let's see how they do with no formation lap as well, obviously, because just to speed things up a bit, I think they've decided just to keep the formation lap off. We'll see how everyone copes with that.
Yeah, the tyres will be pretty cold going on to the start of the race. Let's see how everyone manages turn 1. We're about 5 seconds away from the race starting. So, Luke, I'm going to hand it over to you for the start of the sprint race.
Yeah, and let's hope we do get a start of the sprint race as everyone's just getting ready. Anyone who used 2 sets of medium tyres now doesn't have to worry about having any fresh tyres left, of course. We've reset the lobby. We've got 5 lights on for the sprint race here at Monza. And we are underway with... what is the order of this grid? Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on for that. Wesker takes the lead of the race. And from Siege on the run down towards turn 1 here. Blizzard fighting with Coutinho as Siege goes slightly deep here, and Coutinho trying to go all the way around the outside of Blizzard. Siege has made a slight mistake though, and that's allowed Blizzard to bump his way up into 2nd position. Further down the field, the Freakser and Honey Badger going side by side through the Curva Grande. We've got quite a few cars going side by side, and it looks like Maze has had a spin further down the field, but Wesker just holding on to the lead for now. Coutinho, can he go all the way around the outside of Siege? He's done to Siege what Blizzard did to him in the feature race, and already it seems like Blizzard moving his way up to the order. He's in 1st place. Wesker's giving him a tap. He's just about held it. And fair play to Wesker, he held off because he knew he'd tapped him. Coutinho and Adamako, unsurprisingly, as they weren't involved in the incident, just took advantage of that, and Adamako nearly runs off circuit there. Josh has worked his way up into 2nd. I don't think the reset for the sprint race quite went as well as they hoped, but we've got Coutinho then in the lead, Josh up into 2nd, and Blizzard in 3rd.
Yeah, there definitely hasn't been. Oh, as Josh has had a massive side coming out of Ascari, and he's dropped the car now. So that lack of a formation lap really seems to have cost people. Honey Badger got forced off the road in the second Lesmo, and once again, it just does not go Honey Badger's way. He's out of the lobby and has left, so he will not be scoring any points. Siege in 11th place, the second in the championship, down at the back of the field. What a disastrous start to the race for Dams. He's well off the back of the queue of cars in front, so Josh is in 10th. May is in 9th, Graham down to 8th. JD Nolan, who should have been on reverse grid pole position, is now in 7th. So he's not going to be able to fight for what he should have been fighting for. Kuginio leads, Blizzard in 2nd, Wesker in 3rd, Adamako trying to take 3rd away from him, can't quite get there, so Z3X is now in 5th place, Legend is in 6th ahead of JD Nolan 7th, and Graham rounds off the top 8 at the moment. But once again, just another problem for the sprint race, and we just don't have the right order on the grid, so I don't know whether this race will count when the race finishes. We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, Z3X are looking down the inside of Adamako at the second chicane. Adamako extremely late on the brakes, manages to get the one stopped and get the car through the corner, is still in 4th place. So Adamako with a great defensive drive in there, just about able to hold on to 4th place ahead of Z3X.
Yeah, Adamako, I think he's trying to attack and defend at the same time here, because he's got Wesker not too far ahead of him, and now Wesker seems to be a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment. Blizzard already more than 1 second ahead at this moment in time. They will get DRS obviously on the next lap, but if I was Adamako, I'd definitely try and make the move sooner rather than later. Maybe just try and get a good run through the parabolica this time around, even when you're not going to have DRS. See if you can get that position done. But similar to the first race, Josh, he's shown some good pace, just had a spin, and that's cost him. He's dropped down to 7th place. Siege just seems to be really cruising around at the moment. It's taking it very steady indeed. I think he's pretty much checked out with this race, which is a shame, because you never know what could happen.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Blizzard at the front of the field, 3/10 behind Kuginio. It looks like he's got really, really good raw speed once again. Does Blizzard up behind Kuginio into turn 1. No DRS though. Blizzard can't get to the inside line for the chicane, so Kuginio keeps himself in the lead for the time being. Wesker also holds on to 3rd ahead of Adamako, who's once again showing really, really good speed. He's tucked right up behind that Arden, trying to get to the inside maybe for the De La Rocha chicane, as is Blizzard. Is Blizzard going to try and do the same move to Kuginio as he did in the feature race? Around the outside comes Blizzard, but this time Kuginio is more aggressive in his defense, holds that inside line, and Blizzard can't get around the outside. So Kuginio's learned from his mistake, and that means Blizzard has to stay in 2nd place for the time being. So he just actually stopped on the track down into the first chicane, so I'm not quite sure what that one is about. It looks like it's got going again. But yeah, Blizzard holding on to 2nd for the time being. Kuginio ran a little bit wide there coming out of the second Lesmo though. Siege just retired from the session on the circuit. Meanwhile, Blizzard coming down the inside towards the Scary chicane. Can he get fully past him? Yes, he can. He breezes down the inside. Kuginio doesn't defend that line. Kuginio stays in 2nd. He's trying to hold it around the outside, but can't quite get there. So Kuginio down to 2nd. Blizzard back up into the race lead.
Yeah, Blizzard into the race lead, and this could be a similar situation to last time around. Kuginio didn't really show the greatest of pace on these medium tyres further back. Adamako still very close to the back of Wesker. He's just got to concentrate on getting a better exit through Parabolica and see if he can just slipstream straight past Wesker. This is a fantastic chance with all the chaos that's happened, obviously. We've got one of Wesker, Adamako, Z3X, and possibly Legend. One of them's probably going to be on the podium here, because I can't see Josh working his way all the way up as Adamako thinks about going for the move around the inside. Doesn't. Will that compromise his line? In fact, it looks like Wesker's got a bit too deep, but still able to get the traction out of the corner to just about stay ahead for now.
Oh, as I say that, he moved to the left-hand side of the road, and then Adamako tried to get up the inside through the Curva Grande, and Wesker very severely blocked that line off. Adamako trying to get back to the inside line, still can't quite get there, so Wesker holds on to 3rd place for the time being. Someone's kicked up gravel in front. I think Blizzard's been into the gravel in the chicane. Kuginio's trying to drive around the outside of the first Lesmo. There's side-to-side contact. Kuginio trying to go for that move, just couldn't quite pull it off. Blizzard hits the grass once again going into the second Lesmo, and Kuginio has got a brilliant run coming out of the corner and DRS, and surely this is an easy move to retake the lead of this one. Kuginio breezes on the racing line past Blizzard, down into the chicane, and Kuginio back into the lead of the race. A mistake from Blizzard, where we don't very often see that, but 2 mistakes there for Blizzard costing him the race lead, but he will have DRS coming down the pit straight. And meanwhile, further back, Adamako really wide coming out of Ascari, just about able to keep it on the road, but he's struggling to get past Wesker. Wesker doing a very good job of defending at the moment, and Wesker also seems to have very, very good straight line speed, and that's keeping him in 3rd place at the time, but for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to. Ooh, I was just about to say, he seems to nail Parabolica, but he just ran slightly wide there. I think he got a twitch of oversteer, which obviously sent him wide when he had to correct, and Adamako a lot closer than last time around. And I think Wesker's realised quite early on that move is not really going to happen. He's going to have to give up that place. Blizzard gets ahead of Coutinho. I think tried to hang on in the inside there, similar to what Wesker did, but for both of them, it's just compromised their line ever so slightly. Now, Z-Freakser, can he get a good enough run through Curva Grande to maybe get past Viard and up ahead? Z-Freakser could well, if Z-Freakser gets a podium here, and so does Blizzard, it's been a very good weekend for the Carling team, but no, stays behind this time around. Legend there as well, as if it's a yellow flag, and Blizzard's off again, coming out of the chicane, and that's allowed Adamako ahead.
Wow, Blizzard 2 laps in a row where he's just gone off the road at the chicane, and that's now put Coutinho back in the lead of the race once again. Adamako back up into second, so once again Adamako working his way through nicely up into second place. Blizzard down to third. Is Wesker? Wesker's not quite close enough to challenge Blizzard and drop Blizzard another place, so he will stay in fourth for the time being. Legend trying to get a move done on Z3, but can't quite get there. So Legend's pace in the sprint race looking much better than it was in the feature. He's all over the back of Z3, so through Ascari, might get a good run down towards the Parabolica. Can he get a move to the inside? He won't be close enough, and there's no DRS down towards the Parabolica, so he'll stay in 6th place for the time being. Further back, JD Nolan's holding on to 7th, just ahead of Graham in 8th place, but they've become somewhat detached from this lead queue of cars. Let's see if Blizzard can get back past Adamako. Then coming out of the Parabolica, Blizzard gets a brilliant run through the corner. Adamako at the moment seemingly going to be able to do nothing in defence of this one. Going to look maybe to the inside. He's going to go to the outside actually. Adamako parks it in the middle of the road, but Blizzard is just going to breeze past in a straight line. No problem whatsoever for the Carling man. He goes into the chicane, back up into second place, but again, just a costly mistake from Blizzard, and this is going to put Coutinho in a comfortable 1.5 second lead at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Now we'll see if Blizzard can catch up with 6 laps to go, 1.5 seconds. Definitely doable. I think Siege, it turns out he actually stopped racing because, understandably, with the wrong grid, he thought there'd have been a restart. So maybe to use a bit of a football analogy, just play until the whistle. If everyone else carries on racing, I'd have probably just kept on going around. A bit like Legend, I'd have probably been the last person out of the lobby until I was absolutely sure that we were restarting. It's such a shame for Siege. Obviously retiring means no points whatsoever. It's safe to say it's looking like Blizzard versus Coutinho now with 2 rounds to go for the championship, and unless Coutinho stays ahead of Blizzard, I think it's going to be hard for the Trident man to challenge.
At the moment, definitely Blizzard doing all he needs to do really to continue extending his championship lead at the moment. Coutinho won't quite be into second place just yet in the championship standings, having only finished 3rd in the feature race. So Blizzard, even with a second place here, could just continue to extend his championship lead, which is exactly what he needs to do. He's actually even closing in on Coutinho as they get round through the Parabolica. He's not quite within DRS into the race leader just yet. He's staying in second place for the time being, so Coutinho is safe at least for 1 more lap. But Blizzard is continuing to close in with the fastest lap of the race as well, a 29.5, quite a bit faster than what we've seen from anyone else so far. And he's dragging Adamako with him. Adamako in the DRS range of Blizzard has now dropped Wesker completely. So Adamako keeping up with our championship leader and actually pulling himself into the battle for the race win.
Yeah, definitely. Doing really well here. We could soon have a freeway battle. Wesker seems to have dropped back ever so slightly. It's not like Z-Freaks is all over the back of Wesker. Legend, however, is all over the back of Z-Freakser, and if he's brave enough, he might be able to send one down the inside here into the mud here. But no, Z-Freakser obviously on the racing line, able to go a bit later on the brakes, and just about holds on to that position. Further back, Graham all over the back of Nolan at the moment, and these two, Josh is only 2 seconds behind him, so he could well make it a freeway battle for this 7th place. And no disrespect to Nolan or Graham, I'd expect Josh to manage to work his way up at this moment in time. But Blizzard, he's now got within a second of Coutinho. Adamako just dropping ever so slightly out of that, but looking very possible we could end up with the same 3 people on the podium, maybe for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, maybe for the 3rd time tonight. We would have thought that 3 times, 3 same people on the podium. We'll have to wait and see. Blizzard well within DRS range of Coutinho. It's only 0.3 of a second, so Blizzard surely should be able to breeze past, and it just does look like Coutinho just doesn't have the outright speed of Blizzard here. Blizzard's really, really fast. Even with the mistakes he's made, he's been able to work his way back to the front of the field and back right up behind Coutinho. Can he go to the inside line for the chicane? He's hit the rev limiter already, so Blizzard can't get any faster down the straight, and he can't get to the inside of Coutinho for turn 1. So Coutinho holds on for the time being, but again, Blizzard gets such a good run out of the first chicane. Coutinho tucks right to the right-hand side of the track, trying to break the toe. He's going to have to move to the middle to try and defend the inside line for the chicane. But look at the overspeed that Blizzard has through the inside of the Curva Grande and then the outside for the De La Roja chicane. Coutinho late on the brakes, but once again, for the second time tonight, Blizzard is just going to drive clean around the outside of Coutinho. This time around, Coutinho could not do anything to defend that one, and once again, Blizzard is back into the lead of this race.
Yeah, it's just looked so good tonight, after qualifying at least, which was obviously in the wet, so not really a representative condition. Now we'll be able to see, last time around Coutinho made a slight mistake into Ascari, didn't really get any chance to fight back. He's got DRS open again into Ascari. Can he keep it cleaner? In fact, it looks like Blizzard's maybe ran slightly wide there, so we'll see how this goes. This battle could well go on to the final lap of the race as Josh is battling with JD Nolan, who's ran slightly off the circuit. Josh has had to slam on the brakes there. I wonder if Josh got an illegal overtake, slammed on the brakes, and now he's now spawned and dropped down to 10th position. Graham actually had to take avoiding action because of that, and now Mays is up into 8th place. Coutinho, however, in the slipstream of Blizzard. 3 laps remaining. Blizzard sticking to the inside line then. Can Coutinho go all the way around the outside on the brakes? It looks as though he's going to try it. He'll have the inside line for the next part of the chicane. I think he's just about, it depends on traction here. Blizzard gives him a slight nudge and gets a better exit out of the corner. Now, can Coutinho do to Blizzard what we've seen Blizzard do to Coutinho twice already?
Let's see if he comes down into the De La Rocha chicane. Oh my word, Coutinho nearly drove clean into the side of Blizzard, down into the corner. Blizzard taking the shallow line, holds onto the place. Coutinho might get a better run out the corner, but it's not good enough. He's looking to the inside line for the first Lesmo, but he's not quite close enough to get the move done. So well defended from Blizzard. He holds onto the lead for the time being, but we've got yet another DRS straight just coming up now. So Coutinho within 0.3 of a second, just under 0.4 of a second behind Blizzard. He might be close enough into Ascari if he's got the straight line speed to pull it off. Down into the corner, Blizzard might move to the inside line, but I don't know if the overspeed is enough for Coutinho. He's not quite close enough to the back of Blizzard for the Ascari chicane, so he'll stick in behind for the time being. But we've got yet another DRS straight coming up in a corner's time, but Blizzard with a brilliant run through Ascari. Coutinho a little bit of understeer, not quite able to carry the same amount of speed, so Blizzard at the moment might be safe. Looking further in behind, Adamako can't quite get within DRS range of the top 3. He's still just over a second ahead of Wesker, who's starting to clear away from Z3 and Legend at the moment. So at the moment, the closest battle is for the race lead and for 5th place. Legend trying to work his way forwards. He just can't quite get to the back of Z3 at the moment. Coutinho with a good run out of the Parabolica in the DRS range of Blizzard once again, but again, just not close enough to the back of the Carlin Man to make the move stick. So Blizzard, with 2 laps to go, holds on for the time being, and Coutinho has another rear lock into the first chicane, and that's going to cost him even more time.
Yeah, he's not going to be close enough this time around. He's just got to focus on sticking within DRS range on the run down to Ascari, having a good run for Ascari, and then trying to get a good run for the Parabolica, and then just going for it on the run down towards the chicane. He got very close last time to Blizzard. Maybe he just needs to be a bit more forceful as he actually runs slightly wide through Lesmo, and that could make it very close indeed to whether we get to that all-important 1 second window if he wants to have any chance whatsoever. Through the back, Wesker's just about keeping Z-Freaks and Legend at bay at this moment in time. Josh has left the session completely, so he won't get any points from this now. Him and Honey Badger just don't seem to have the luck at all at this moment in time. I think it's going to be hard now for Coutinho. He just needs to concentrate on getting it right for Parabolica, but even then, he's not going to be that close to Blizzard. I think it's going to be a feature race and a sprint race win, and I think that's the first time we've seen that happen this season.
That could be, yeah, that could be the first time it has happened this season. So Blizzard well on his way to picking up 2 wins tonight. Coutinho is trying all he can to try and get back in the race lead, but he just doesn't quite have the raw pace that Blizzard does have around here. Adamako is still in 3rd place, continuing to pull away from Wesker, who's now only 2/10 clear of Z3. So Z3 on the final lap has a run for 4th place. Wesker to the inside. Z3 is going to breeze past the Arden man down towards turn 1. Wesker could do nothing to fight that. Z3 up into 4th place, and this has been a really really positive week so far for Z3. So a great performance in the feature race in terms of pace before that spin, and his sprint race pace has been very, very promising as well, up into 4th place. And Carlin, with a 1st and a 4th in the sprint race, are going to have a massive lead in the manufacturers going into the next round.
Yeah, definitely. Although I think the lead Blizzard has, unless he's absent or has a retirement, might be a bit too hard to challenge. I can see Trident coming back at the moment. Coutinho's just too far behind. He's not going to have a chance. Can Legend somehow manage to find a way past Wesker on this final lap? It's going to be tough, obviously, because Wesker's going to have DRS, and I think Legend's just ran slightly wide through the second Lesmo, so it's not going to happen for him. You've got Graham and Mays battling over 8th and 9th position at the moment, but Blizzard coming through a Scarby once again for the final time in the lead again, and it looks like it's going to be 2 wins from 2 and taking a massive step here tonight towards a championship with just 2 rounds remaining.
Yeah, which is 2 rounds. Z3 has made a mistake. Oh no, on the final lap through Ascari, Z3 has seemingly run wide out of the corner. Wesker's back up into 4th, and Legend down the inside in Z3 for the final corner. Blizzard's going to cross the line in the race lead. He wins the sprint race and the fastest lap on the final lap as well. Coutinho takes 2nd ahead of Adamako in 3rd. They're 3 wide in the background for 4th place. Who picks it up? Z3 ends up in 4th place. He manages to steal it back on the line. Legend in 5th ahead of Wesker, who drops to 6th after a poor run out of the Parabolica. He couldn't get to 4th in the end. Somehow Z3 held on to 4th place. Legend up into 5th. It will be JD Nolan in 7th, and I believe Graham in 8th ahead of Mays in 9th. What a final corner for those 3. 3 wide to the line, and Z3 just holds on to 4th place.
Yeah, I mean, Z3 must have got a fantastic run through Parabolic. I saw again Wesker just seemed to get that bit of a twitch on foot, also had to lift off, ran wide, and that was it for Wesker. Unfortunately for him, dropping down to 6th place. But Blizzard, 2nd victory of this evening. Pretty much perfect run for him, and as I said, it's really going to help with the championship. Coutinho, I think that's 4 second positions in a row now. It just seems as though Blizzard has found that just extra 1% of pace that he needs to probably take him towards this title.
Yeah, it's just really come on song for him in the second half of the season. Coutinho missing a few rounds as well, actually at this point is really going to cost him in the title race. I think he's missed 3 rounds so far this season. Blizzard's only missed the 1, so that's where Coutinho's lost a lot of points, and that could cost him at the end of the day in the championship. Blizzard then with 2 wins tonight. Jury's still out on whether this will count as a sprint race. Obviously the grid in the end was nowhere near what it should have been, so I'll have to wait and see whether this does actually count as a sprint race, but we're going to treat it at the moment as if it does. Blizzard wins the race then ahead of Coutinho and Adamako, the same 3 people on the podium 3 times tonight. Not the twice, the 3 times, but Adamako with 2 podiums in the end. What a round for him in 3rd place ahead of Z3 in 4th, one of his best results of the season. Legend in 5th ahead of Wesker 6th, JD Nolan 7th. I think he can be pretty happy with his performance today, with his pace. He obviously got a little bit involved in an incident later on in the race with Josh, but other than that, he was doing a pretty good job at holding Graham at bay. Graham in 8th ahead of Mays 9th, and then Josh, Siege and Honey Badger, 3 very fast drivers not able to make it to the end of the race. Honey Badger out on lap 1 for what must be nearing maybe the 8th or 9th time this season, and Siege out having stopped racing after the first couple of laps.
Yeah, just so unlucky for both of them. Amazingly there, Z3 and Legend finishing on identical times to the 1,000th of a second. And Wesker only 18 thousandths of a second behind. The closest finish in F1 history happened at Monza in 1971, and you can just see why. It's just a slipstream fest. If you get a good run out of that final corner, that can be it, and you can just about drag it to the line. And great racing from them at the end. It could have so easily all ended in tears, but fair play to Wesker, Legend and Z3, so they kept it all fair at that final point. Didn't really squeeze anyone, and I'm sure Z3 will be hoping that race counts, as will his teammate, but as you said, we'll have to wait and see.
Just have to wait and see, so we will inform you in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, like I said, next Wednesday will be the return of the Esports Masters League, so there will not be any Formula 2 next week. You'll have to wait another couple of weeks for the final 2 rounds of the season at Russia. Thank you again, Josh. Thank you again, Luke. Sorry, I got Josh M97 in my head. I was about to say something about him, and then I didn't, so I just called you Josh. But thank you, Luke, for joining me in the commentary box once again. It's always great to commentate alongside you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the stream as well and commenting on the stream. It's been a fairly truncated evening, but I hope that we kept you nicely entertained throughout that whole race. Tune in on League Racing TV for the rest of the week as well, for the Division 2 and 3 races tomorrow, and the Division 4 and 5 races after that on Friday as well. And CRC is back this weekend with the Touring Car Championship on Saturday and the IndyCar Championship on Sunday, so look out for those races as well. So from myself and Luke, It is. Thank you very much for joining us, and goodbye.